I talk to me never. Give me a shot and I swear I shoot like Berettas. Yeah. They getting nervous, I seen it. What I seen, wouldn't believe it. They say they want it, I need it. Damn, I'm going dumb like I dropped out of class.
Welcome into the Big Dog Show. This is Marcedes Lewis Forum. I'm David Kaplan, and it is brought to you by the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers. They are the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears and Ankin Law. 312-6 million for the great Howard Ankin Injury Law made personal. Marcedes, great to be with you. We'll have a special guest in a moment, but rough night in Houston in a game that while the offense didn't play well, you guys had a chance to win late.
Yeah, no, man. First of all, it's good to see you, man.
You too.
Yeah, it was a tough one out there in Houston. Obviously, we knew going into it that it would be that way. Playoff team at home. They're rolling right now. Obviously, the defense is flying around on their side of the ball. The offense is really good back there. That young quarterback slinging the rock. We were aware of the challenges, and we went in there with the confidence that we'd be able to compete, and but also understanding that this could be a marker to see where we were in terms of our team. And all things said, we still had an opportunity at the end to potentially win that game. As you can tell, like our defense is playing lights out right now. And as far as, on the offensive side of the ball, just taking a little bit longer to mesh. Obviously, Caleb is still coming and doing his thing. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you don't really get better if you're not honest with yourself and able to look in the mirror and confront the truth of what happened week to week. And so tomorrow we get back at it, get back on the saddle, and we have an opportunity to go 1-0 this week. And that's the good thing about this league is you have another opportunity to right the wrong. So looking forward to going to Indianapolis, another challenge. I think that defense, almost a similar scheme as Houston. So we got a chance to kind of right those wrongs and potentially run the ball a little bit more and just get better every day. This is the NFL. Anything can happen, regardless of, how good or how bad a team is. On any given Sunday, you can get your butt whooped if you're not prepared. So, every day is a lesson. We'll take this as a lesson and get ready to go. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. So,
no, the Colts are 0-2. They're looking to get healthy quick.
No doubt.
So we'll talk some more ball later. Let's bring in our special guest, a dear friend of Marcedes and one of the most popular authors, motivational speakers. Before I ever knew we were having him on, a long time ago, I bought a book called The Energy Bus.
Yeah.
Like, this book is awesome. And so I started following this guy on social media. And then you called me and said, hey, we're going to have John Gordon on. And I'm like, that dude's awesome.
Oh,
so why don't we bring John into the Big Dog Show? John, when he told me we were going to have you on and welcome to the Big Dog Show, I'm like, that dude's phenomenal. Great follow on social media. I've been a fan of yours before I ever knew you guys were tight.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I follow you too on social media. I always see you commenting about the Cubs and the different teams in Chicago, right? So I love that. Love following you. And also, I spoke to the Cubs a number of years ago, and I think that's when we also started following each other. So love Marcedes. We've known each other a long time, so it's great to be with you guys.
Yeah, man. I obviously, how much you mean to me. I met you 2007. He came and spoke to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was my second year in the league there. And like I've told you before, I think after that first time meeting you, you kind of left your imprint on just how to navigate the world naturally. I think waking up every day and having a growth mindset to be positive regardless of circumstance is easier said than done. Being able to, read your books and being able to lean on you in certain situations has kind of helped me throughout my life. And it's helped me make a big impact on those around me. So I appreciate you being here, man. Thank you.
I'm fired up to be here. And for those listening, it was really cool because the Jaguars are the first team I ever spoke to. Marcedes, second year in the league. I go to speak to this team. Never spoke to a team before. Never spoke to a college team, a high school team. The Jaguars are the first team ever.
How did they get to you?
I walk in there with my Brioni suit. Jack Del Rio was given the energy bus. It just came out. Like, I write this book. I'm an unknown author. Don't even know if this book is going to get out there. It was rejected by 30 publishers. Finally, it comes out. Mike Ryan, a trainer for the Jaguars at the time,
That's my guy.
My guy too, gives the book to Mike Smith. Mike reads it, gives it to Jack, and says, "Hey, I think you should read this." Jack then invites me to go meet with him. I meet with Jack Del Rio. I'm sitting across from him, the legend Jack Del Rio, as an unknown author. And he says, "Hey, your book really resonated with me, especially the part about energy vampires, because I allow those negative people to affect me, and I can't let them affect me. You taught me how to deal with them." I'm like, wow, I wrote something that would impact a coach. He says, "Will you speak to my team?" I'm like, "Yes, I'd love to. If you get a book for every guy on the team." He goes, "I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to give it to every guy and everyone in the organization because I want everyone being positive in the organization." Gave it to the custodial guys, gave it to the food service workers, everyone to share positive energy. So now I'm walking in the room. I got this Brioni suit that I bought. I'm not even wearing like athletic gear like I usually do now, and start speaking. Don't even know what I said, but I just talked about the energy bus, staying positive, overcoming the energy vampires, negativity along the way. And Marcedes was there. Maurice Jones-Drew was there. He came up to me. We really created a friendship in that moment as well. Fred Taylor was there. It was one of his last years in the league. And I love watching Fred Taylor run. I was a running back, so I love watching Fred, watching Maurice. And so that was a really cool moment. So then after that, right now, all these years later, speak to all these different teams. We're talking the Rams. We're talking the Atlanta Falcons for 7 years straight. The Chargers, the 49ers. I could pretty much go to the Eagles. I pretty much spoke to most of the teams in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. And now I come back to speak to the Bears. And who is there but Marcedes Lewis, playing now his 19th year
19.
in the league, right? And biggest honor ever. I got the chance to have him introduce me to his team before speaking with the Chicago Bears. And that's instant credibility because you're going into this sacred space in their meeting room. You're an outsider. So to have Marcedes introduce me and say, "Hey, here's my friend John here to speak to you all today," that meant the world to me. And you know what? Their culture was off the charts. These guys, this team was so unique and special. One of the best cultures I've ever experienced. I mean, out of all the teams, all the years, I'm like, they've got something special. I know they struggled the other night a little bit, but that's just going to come from maturity with Caleb. He's just got to grow. He's got to learn. He's got to have the experience, right? He's going to have a lot more blitzes coming his way. And now they're going to plan some offenses around and some plays around dealing with the blitz, right? But besides that, the culture, the fact that they were even in that game shows the power of the culture of this team.
Absolutely. I think you hit it right on the nose. Like I said earlier, you got to remember that Caleb is a rookie, and regardless if he got drafted number 1 overall, I mean, that doesn't matter. It's the NFL. It's not the same league as when you were in college. Things are different. Being open in college is not being open in the NFL, right? And, you got these accomplished defensive coordinators dialing up blitzes, understanding that you're a rookie and you haven't seen a lot of these exotic looks, right? And so his mental is in a really good place. I talked to him just before we hopped on the podcast today. And that's what really matters to me. The football stuff is going to take care of itself, but I just want to make sure his mind is in the right place and that, his opinion of himself is always louder than what's outside, right? And one thing that I learned, even when you came and spoke in 2007, you said external factors should never play a part in your day-to-day and how you feel. And as a person, I'm very internally motivated. I always have been. But sometimes doubt will creep in, and you have to have those talks with yourself. And one thing that I lean on a lot is just, the positive self-talk. And that's another thing that I learned from you. And it's one of those things I can talk about it right here, but that's something that you have to actively do. And it's like a conditioning, right? Just like anything, if you want to be good at it, you have to condition yourself to do it. And it sounds kind of wild to say it out loud, positive self-talk. I'm going to walk around and talk to myself and feed my brain all these positive things. But it's once you understand the power of your thoughts, you're not just going to think any thought, right? you understand the power of your presence. You're not just going to be anywhere, right? So it's like that frame of thinking. When you can figure out like who you are as a person and what you need to do in order to be authentic and show up as your authentic self every single day, I think you got a really good chance to do some really good things. So I'm not worried about Caleb. We're going to continue to roll. This is the NFL. It's a week-to-week league. If you're not ready, any given week you can get beat. And to be in a game where we turned the ball over a couple times, we couldn't run the ball a lick. They put a lot of pressure on us, and to be 6 points away at the end of the game with over a minute to play, come on, man. I think we're doing something right. So, as you said, a lot of it, pertains to who we are in the building and, the chemistry and the energy that we built, not just with the team, but throughout the building, from the top all the way down to the bottom. And if you're on the outside looking in and thinking about the Bears, and obviously we haven't won as much as we would like to, obviously, over the last 6-7 years, whatever it's been, you would have no idea how we are in that building if you're just thinking about in terms of wins and losses, right? It's one of the best places I've ever been as far as how everybody treats each other. They come into the building with this almost like this childlike faith, right? That every day is a brand new day and we have an opportunity to do something great and something big. And when I got here last year, I was blown away because it was my first time in the building. I didn't know what to expect. Losing games doesn't make you a loser. Having losing habits makes you a loser. We have winning habits. And every day we aim to be our personal best every day so we can put our best product out there on Sundays. And I'm confident in the process that we have and understanding that nobody can slow that process down or speed that process up but us. It's always about us, and it's always going to be about us. And I think in this locker room, we understand that. We have the right leadership there. And, I'm just looking forward to the future, man.
And winning is a great deodorant. So there are teams that actually will win, but their culture's not great. They don't have a strong team chemistry. They got lucky in a couple games, or they played an opponent that wasn't great. So they start thinking they're good. And those teams, you'll see they may win initially, but then they struggle as the season goes along. And then you'll see teams with great cultures. That culture drives that talent towards greatness, as you know. And that mindset, as you know, is everything. Like, that's what caused you to play in this league for 19 years. It's not just your physical body, which is a key part of it. Your training is key, but what drives the training? What drives the workout, right? It's that mind every day, that willingness to go do the work, to put the body through that, to recover, to work hard, to come back from adversity. A lot of times we're tired, but the mind is stronger than the body. So it says, keep going. And sometimes the mind is more tired than the body.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree. And, when the young guys ask me around the building, like, man, how are you able to do this for so long? Like, don't you get tired? How's your body feel? I'm like,
process.
Man, I mean, if I really sat you down and just gave you a little piece of what it takes, like, mentally to be here and be present every single day, understanding the monotonous of being in the league and how it can be tiring and exhausting if you let it, we'd be here all day, right? What I will say is my body is always going to do what my mind tells it to do. Over 19 years, I've been able to add and take out different things in my routine, both mentally and physically, to get me prepared for that day. I am so strong mentally that it almost feels as if I have an aura around me. And whether it's in meetings, practice, games, just being able to be my personal best on Sundays and mentally put myself in a position to always be effective, regardless of age, then it becomes more mental. These guys are way younger than me, twitchier, faster, stronger, if not as strong as, especially, obviously, I'm 40 now, so I have to do things a different way than when I was younger, right? And that takes, obviously, film study, but then that positive self-talk, so that I truly believe that I'm still one of the best doing it. And there's a reason why I'm 1 out of 1,600 out of 8 billion in this world that are doing this sport at 40 years old. So I'm truly grateful for all my experiences and just to be here doing this, man. John, what inspires you to start writing about leadership, positivity, and how has that evolved like over the years?
It was my own quest to be better myself, because I was really negative myself and I wanted to be more positive. And it came to a head when I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and got laid off from my job. And my wife almost left me because I was so negative. And I was blaming my wife for why my life was so bad, why I had not lived up to my potential. I was one of these complainers and blamers. And she had enough of my negativity. She said, if you don't change, we're over. Like, I'm ready to leave right now if you don't change. So I begged her to stay. She agreed to stay and I agreed to change. And that began this journey of working to become a more positive person. I started to research ways I could be more positive. This was during the emerging field of positive psychology. So I literally began to research these ideas and then practice them. So every day I was walking and practicing gratitude, because I read you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. So I was like applying these new concepts that was just emerging in science and now practicing them and doing them. And I saw, wow, this really is working. This is benefiting me. I began to write a positive tip every week, a weekly positive tip via email. This is 2001, 2002. No one was doing emails back then like this. And I began sending out these weekly positive tips that people began to read. I had 5 subscribers initially: my mother, my brother, best friend from college, teammates from college, because I played Division I lacrosse in college at Cornell University, right? So I was a Division I athlete, and I thought like an athlete. I was recruited mostly for football, but decided to play lacrosse. So now I'm sharing these ideas and people start to read them. And naturally, people started asking me to speak. So I began giving these local talks for free, all these local talks. And then from there, it really led me to realize this was my life's calling. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm here to do. And it evolved into leadership because I was going to companies and realizing that people might have been energetic or not energetic, but the leadership drove everything. And I saw the power of leadership and the influence of leadership. And I said, if I ever want to impact organizations and people, I really need to impact leaders. So that really got me thinking about leadership. And that's when I wrote The Energy Bus, and then The Carpenter Soup, The Power of Positive Leadership more recently, and really became a student and a teacher of leadership. And that's what I would say my strongest suit is leadership, but it's positive leadership, because pessimists do not change the world.
No, I agree. And, speaking of the energy bus, you emphasize the importance of, just positive energy, as you just stated. What do you think the key principles that you believe in that everybody should adopt as far as, having a positive mindset?
Yeah, I think it starts with one, vision and mission. Every great leader is pointing their teams towards a brighter and better future. Like, you've got to show the vision and share the vision and share what is possible. Even in the military, before they begin a mission, they actually talk about what does the end look like? What does a win look like? What does the world look like when they're done? So as a leader, you got to share that. We've got to lead with optimism and belief. Obviously, positive leadership. You've got to be positive. Leadership is a transfer of belief. You know this, Marcedes. If you don't believe it, you can't inspire others to do it. So leadership is a transfer of belief. I've worked with Dabo Sweeney now for 13 years, and I've seen the way he built that program in Clemson on belief. 2 national championships based on belief. People say, no, it's based on Trevor and Deshaun, but no, it's based on that leader's belief in what this team could accomplish. And you've seen it on the teams that you're on. There's a belief, and that leadership begins it all. And then there's really leaders deal with negativity and they address the negativity. Like, so often people say, well, how could you be a positive leader and not deal with negativity, or deal with negativity? No, you always deal with it.
It's the way, when people ask me about my leadership style, like, it's obviously like it's hard to explain really. Like, I'm not, especially in the field that I'm in, like, we're all grown men. This is not Pop Warner, right? So there's no pointing fingers or I'm not your dad. I'm not trying to come for your manhood. Like, it's not about that. And I've never led that way. I've always led by example, as far as like what I put on film and how I carry myself around the building, regardless if I'm talking to a janitor, the chefs that are making our food, the therapists that are walking around. Like, I always say, like, what makes a person special is how they treat people. Like, that's what makes you an alpha, is how you treat people. And that's kind of how I lead, right? So I'm not the guy that's going to be talking after every play, whether it's wrong, whether it's right. Like, I normally interject when I feel like the team needs it, and I've always had like a knack and like a timing for knowing when to speak and knowing when not to speak and kind of let things play out. But because of that, when I do speak, they take it serious because of the way I lead, and they understand that if I do come to the front and say something, that either one, I mean it, or two, we need it, right? And
three, they better pay attention.
100%.
And it's called, it's leading by example. And Marcedes then has moral authority, because you're actually leading that way. You have the moral authority to be able to speak up, and they're going to listen because they've seen it and they've witnessed it. And there's alignment. We also call that integrity. When you have integrity of character, and who you are is also what you do, and what you do is a part of who you are. And there's alignment in what you say and what you do. Now you build that integrity. And integrity, by the way, the word integrity comes from the word integer, which means whole and complete.
Yep.
So as a leader, when you have wholeness and completeness and integrity, there's so much power there. If a leader is saying one thing and doing another, or yelling at guys but not living it, then there's no integrity, and then you are actually a weak leader. So
yeah, and
I love that.
And people feel that, regardless if it's a teammate, if it's a coach. Like, you're not fooling anybody. You get what I'm saying? And like, football, obviously, it's the ultimate complementary sport. It's more guys on a team, which means that there are so many different ways that a team can rip and go a certain way if we aren't all pulling in the same direction. So I totally agree with that.
Pro athletes, they say pro athletes and dogs are the same. They can smell a fraud very quickly and easily. They know when someone is not legit and someone is not real.
So let me ask you a question, because number one rule you have 10 rules to embrace positive energy, but the one I have is number one, you are the driver. What would you say to people who, well, I'm an employee in the company, I'm not the driver? Because they really are the driver of their own life, no matter what their role is, correct?
You just nailed it. Driver means that you're the driver of your life, that you take the wheel and you can decide where you're going to go and the kind of energy you're going to bring to your ride. So Marcedes shows up every day. He knows he's the driver of his bus. He's responsibility for his actions. He's taking ownership of who he is, of how he thinks, what he says, and what he does to be his best. And then he's an example for all the other buses looking at him and watching him and showing them what that looks like.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question, because I had dinner with Marcedes last night. We had this discussion, and I was never a tattoo guy, and my kids are like, you have tattoos now? And I have on my arm, it says, tune out the matote. That the ancient Toltecs say those are the 1,000 voices that are in your head pulling you in a million directions. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't chase that dream. That's stupid. Conform to society. So you run for elected office and you lose. And you worked hard to try to get elected, correct?
I did. I was 26 years old. I ran for city council of Atlanta.
Okay. And you lose. And you had run a restaurant. And here your wife saying you're negative. How do you I'm not saying just flip the switch, but how do you channel, okay, I'm going to tune out all that noise, and here I am, and look where you're at today?
It's doing what we're talking about day in and day out for your life, making it a habit and becoming those habits. The thoughts you think, the words you say become the life and the reality you create. As a man thinks, he becomes. As a woman thinks, she becomes. So your words are that powerful. Your thoughts are that powerful. So I stopped being a complainer, a blamer. I stopped allowing my past to define me, also my failures to define me. And I began to use them to refine me, to get better, to improve. And I really began to live in vision, not circumstance. And I really believed, like, okay, I'm going to write. I'm going to speak. I literally had an encounter with the creator of the universe, with God. And I literally said, what am I born to do? Why am I here? And writing and speaking came to me in that moment. And there was this belief and this conviction in that moment. That's what I was going to do. Now you talk about the negative voices. where do those negative voices come from? People always talk about the inner critic and the negative voices and the negative thoughts,
Right.
but where do they really come from? And a lot of times I'll say, do those negative thoughts come from you? And this is what I said to the Bears as well. Do those negative thoughts come from you? And guys were like, yeah, they're in my head. But here's the next question. If you believe those negative thoughts come from you, who would ever choose to have a negative thought? Would you ever choose a negative thought? You
Never.
wouldn't, right? So they come from consciousness. They come from a spiritual place. Like I'm sure the Native Americans believe they come from spirit, right? That in the spiritual realm, that there's a lot of negative voices because there's negative and positive. The story of two wolves is a Cherokee story that we have two wolves inside of us, a positive wolf and a negative wolf. And they fight all the time, the positive and negative. And which one wins? The one you feed the most.
Absolutely.
So within you, there are two voices, but also outside, there are two voices. I say in The One Truth, my newest book, that the brain's an antenna, which I really believe it is. And you tune into two main frequencies, a positive or a negative frequency. And get this, the more you tune into a negative frequency, you're going to have a lot more negative thoughts coming in. And you tune into that day in and day out, that will become your life. You realize those negative thoughts have no power over you. You change that dial and you start tuning into more and more positive thoughts and a higher level frequency of love instead of fear, of power, right? Instead of dysfunction and negativity, oneness instead of separateness, confidence instead of doubt. And you start tuning into that day in and day out, your life will change based on what you're tuning into. And that's what changed my life. The walk of gratitude, talking to myself every day instead of listening to those 1,000 negative thoughts coming in. And by the way, just a real quick thing on this. I always laugh when I share this with organizations, but it's really funny. Have you noticed that overthinking is always associated with negative thoughts?
Yes.
We never say I have too many positive thoughts. No one lays in bed at night with their thoughts racing, thinking about how awesome their life is. This is proof that there's a battle between positive and negative. The negative clutter wants to lower your state of mind. Positivity raises your state of mind. So it's a battle between how do I raise my state of mind instead of allowing all the things in life, all the negative voices, all my circumstances to bring down my state of mind. So when you're talking about Caleb earlier, the key for him is to maintain that high state of mind. The key for Marcedes, maintain that higher state of mind. That's why a younger guy who has a low state of mind is going to have a lot less energy and be weaker than an older guy with a higher state of mind, because he's bringing that power, that oneness, that integrity, and that strength with him, where the lower state makes you weak and powerless. So hopefully this is making sense, but this is really the key to any high performer. This is how I get guys to perform at a higher level when I'm working with them and coaching them. I talk to different quarterbacks all the time, not Caleb, but different quarterbacks in the league. And we'll just have conversations. And it's really as simple as, remember, high state of mind. You're right. You're right. Don't listen to those negative thoughts. You're right. You're right. Remember, love the battle. Stop fearing the outcome. You're right. You're right. It's just the reminders of these simple things to get our mind back on track.
But I said to Marcedes last night, like, oh God, the Colts are really good. And if we lose to the Colts and the Rams are getting healthy and we lose that, and all of a sudden you're 5 weeks down the road and you're like, relax. Let's just worry about today. Let's get better today.
Let's get better today. 1 week at a time. Let's go 1-0. And, obviously, to kind of piggyback on what you were just saying, John, it's obviously easier said than done as far as keeping that higher state of mind. But you got to fight through those urges when doubt creeps in, right? And again, that takes conditioning. Like you have to totally commit. This is who I'm going to be, not just today, not just tomorrow, but for my life. And can't nobody or nothing can make me have a bad day but me. If I have a bad day, that's on me. Like, I'm not blaming somebody else for me having a bad day. I can kind of differentiate between the two. Like, I don't need this. I do need this. And what I don't need, I can just throw away, right? Like and you're going to have those battles every single day, whether it's with people, things you read online, people that, may not like you. Like earlier in my career, right? I get to Jacksonville, come from UCLA. I'm catching I got touchdown records at UCLA, receiving records, all of that. I'm thinking when I get to Jacksonville, it's just going to be the same right away. And it wasn't like that. I went to a team that was very good defensively. Offensively, we were okay, but we had an amazing run game, and we didn't pass the ball a lot, right? This is 2006. Offense wasn't this spread thing. It was like run the ball, play action pass, take your shots when they loaded the box, but it wasn't spread them out, get it empty, and just start picking apart defenses. We weren't that way, right? And so I learned very quick that if I wanted to sustain whatever type of career I was going to have, that I was going to have to be an all-around tight end. And that meant being able to be dominant at the point of contact. And as you know, coming from college, yes, I did my thing in college. I was able to be dominant at the point of contact by my junior and senior year because I put it into action, and mentally I wanted to be that guy, and I knew that that would set me apart. But in the NFL, it's not that easy, right? Like, these guys are different. The trenches are different, and it takes a little bit of time to come in and adapt and adjust to not just the speed, but the mental of knowing that, like, okay, this guy is downloading movement patterns every play. And so I have to be a step ahead every play. Here I am 19 years later, still grabbing and pulling from when I was younger of what it would take for me to be dominant against guys that have been in the league for longer than I have, stronger than I am, just have more of a sense of how to win those one-on-one reps than what I've had been able to do at that point in time. And so now here I am, the older guy who's going against these younger guys that potentially have certain advantages over me, but now mentally I have to tap into a place that maybe they may not be able to tap into to get my job done, right? And I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't positive, and if I didn't tell myself, you are one of the best doing it. You do belong. Every single play, cycle of the snap, soon as we break the huddle, I'm talking to myself like I am that dude. I'm not worried about who's in front of me. Good luck to you. I'm dishing out punishment. And that's just what it's going to be,
When I hear that, what I think about is the fact that when you went to the Jaguars, you could have been a tight end that said, oh, come on, I'm not getting the passes. I don't want to play in this offense. Trade me. Instead, you took the opposition, the challenge, the adversity in that, and then you're able to learn from it, grow from it. And you said, I'm going to become a great blocking tight end. And if you don't have that experience, you probably don't have the career and the longevity that you have now that made you so good at that position to be able to do it all. So you took the challenge, turned it into an opportunity, and grew from it. And that's a real great key characteristic and trait of successful people. They don't always have things go their way, but they always took the misfortune and turned it into fortune. They take the challenge, turn it into an opportunity.
What would you say to Marcedes, to sports fans that are watching this? You're watching the Big Dog Show with Marcedes Lewis. I'm David Kaplan. That's John Gordon, noted motivational speaker, author, great follow on social. What would you say? He's got 52 other guys. Not all of them are going to have the vibe that guy has. Like, I sat there last night at dinner and listened to his story, and it's just amazing. It just gets you so fired up of what you can accomplish in the world. But he also has to play with, whether it's the guy next to him or the guy across from him in practice, that may not have his passion and vibe.
But that's the benefit of playing with a guy like him and having him on your team. It's why GMs want him on their team, because he is contagious and his mindset is contagious.
Yep.
His thoughts are contagious. His actions, the way he plays, his habits, they're all contagious. So he's teaching all these guys by his actions and also then his leadership. So they're able to learn from him. You hear from guys all the time. They're in the league and they get paired up with an older veteran that changes the course of their career because of who they're with. Your mentor, it's not so much what they say a lot, it's who they are. Who mentors you is so important. Like, the mentors in my life changed my life. I have a mentorship program now. Who I'm mentoring, I'm going to take them light years ahead of where they would be on their own in this field and doing this work. And so when you're with Marcedes, you are going to be light years ahead. Now, they got to be willing. They got to be open. They got to be willing to listen. But that's where culture comes in. As he infuses and affects this culture will hopefully help them. Now, can they have the same mindset? It takes years of conditioning. There's a difference between trained and untrained. trained and untrained. If I go box with someone who's trained, it's going to be very different and untrained, right? If I watch a speaker, I can tell a speaker who's trained and untrained. If I get in the field with Marcedes, we're going to see very quickly that I'm untrained and he's trained. And so that's really the key, the conditioning every day of doing it. And this is what I've done with positivity. This is why my mental makeup is so different than I was when I was younger. My teammates can't believe what I'm doing now. They're like, you were a mental wreck when you were in college.
Yeah.
And now you like literally are an expert, like one of the best in the world on this. And it's because of the training and the conditioning of day in and day out of doing it. And that's why when we teach this, people need to understand, like, they've got to commit to it, as Marcedes says. And as they do, they can be that kind of teammate, but hopefully they can look at him and say, yeah, I want to be that. I'm willing to do that. Champions are willing to pay the price that greatness requires.
I love that, man. Like, I just listening to that, I feel like you're speaking directly to me. And like you said, it's, having a mentor is one thing, but having a mentor that understands and gets it and does it without, it's like nonverbal, right? Because it's just who they are. And, for me in 2006, when I came into the league, it was Fred Taylor and Kyle Brady, right? And, obviously at that time, Kyle Brady was in his 10th or 11th year, on his way out. And I think Fred was maybe in his 9th year. And Fred didn't have to take me under his wing. I'm a tight end. He's a running back. Totally different worlds coming in. But he felt a common thread and felt attracted to me and vice versa. And he kind of took me under his wing. And then, having Kyle Brady in the room, 6'4", 6'5", 280 pounds, dominant at the point of contact, something, that obviously I admired coming in, because I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like, yes, I can run and catch the ball, but like, I have a guy who, if he doesn't mind, he can teach me everything he knows about being able to block and just the little tricks of the trade and the crafty vet stuff to get my job done. And I'll never forget this, very vivid in my mind. We're in meetings one day, and there's a couple other tight ends there that weren't so nice to me. I think one was in his 3rd year, another one was in his 4th year, trying to figure out their way in the league as well. And they knew that they drafted me 28 overall to be the starting Y. And for those of you listening, the Y tight end is like the do-it-all tight end. And so they didn't take that too well. And it was kind of like, I'm a vet, you're a rookie. And back then hazing was just at an all-time high. And so they made it their business to make it hard on me. And one day, Kyle Brady pulled me aside and he was like, hey, man, they drafted you to come in here and take my job. Don't worry about that. They've been here for 3 years, 4 years, and they can't take my job. Wow. But they drafted you to do that. And so you just listen to me and do what I do and follow everything that I do. And I said, I couldn't be in a better situation. And from that day forward, and I haven't talked to Kyle in so long, and I haven't even mentioned this conversation to him, but that kind of set me on my path to truly be the best I can be and understanding like I do belong, and to only be focused on what I put forth to be my personal best, and not let, whether it's other teammates or whatever, certain energies in my vortex to stop me from being what I want to be. And I'm just truly grateful for that.
That's such a cool story. You know what's really even cooler about that? This is a small world, a lot of synchronicity. Kyle Brady was a friend of mine. And so when I moved to Jacksonville, wasn't a friend then. He played at Penn State. And as I opened up Moe's Southwest Grill in Jacksonville, I used to own Moe's years ago. In a previous life, I was like 31 when I opened it. After my wife almost left me, I decided to open up the Moe's, hopefully make money, pay the bills, and then write and speak. I challenged Kyle Brady to a race. I'm like, oh, I'm going to take him. I was a 4.6 in college. I'll take him. I'm probably about 33 at the time, 34. He smoked me in this race. We went to UNF to go for a race.
Wow.
And he smoked me 280. Could not believe how fast he moved. so quickly being so big, but a solid, great guy.
Oh, he's the best.
Also became a pilot. I don't know if you knew he became a pilot.
Yeah, I did not know that, but
yeah, he flew small planes, and great dude. So I hope he hears this. Hope he hears this story. Great guy, unbelievable that you guys that he taught you and showed you the way.
Yeah, you also talk about energy vampires. How do you deal with those? Like if Marcedes has a teammate that's an energy vampire, do you do maybe intervention's the wrong word, but hey man, I need to see you privately. Can I help you? What do you do?
This is why so many teams, I think, have used the energy bus over the years, and why they've had success when they do is because it gives you language to deal with the energy vampires. Too many teams have negative guys on the team, and one person can make a team, but one person could break a team. You got one energy vampire. That vampire will sabotage the locker room, the team, the morale. So you got to address it. I believe the coaches have to address it at the cultural level, and then the team has to address it. One, you lead by example. Two, you talk about how negativity could sabotage our team. And three, you got to get great leadership that says, look, guys, we just got to stay positive and we can't bring each other down. Now, it's okay to get mad at times. It's okay to get pissed off, but don't allow the negativity to sabotage the vision and the mission and the energy of the team. And that's really key. So it's conversations, and it might be a leader like Marcedes taking the guy aside. Look, man, like for us to have success, we need your positive contribution. We need to bring energy to the team. And it's as simple as be an energy fountain, not a drain, a lot of people say. Be an energy bus driver, not a drainer. Like, are you a driver or a drainer? What are you doing? And it's really about calling people to more. I would say call them up to greatness, but sometimes you got to call them out a little bit, but do it privately. Great leaders shout praise and whisper criticism. So you pull them aside and you whisper that criticism to them.
I totally agree. I mean, that's
a great line.
Yeah, that's kind of how I lead naturally. You know what I mean? Without even like breaking it down. I mean, that kind of fits who I am as a person. And you know, like even at dinner the other night when I was talking to Cap, like I mentioned, when you wake up in the morning, you only have so much energy, and it's up to you how you allocate that, right? And if you choose to put that energy towards negative things, then you're gonna have negative thoughts, and that's gonna drive, you know, your quality of your life day to day. And if you choose to be positive, it's gonna do the exact opposite. And that's something that I can attest to and say that is real. And part of that and going forward is being able to confront the truth, right? And look in the mirror and confront the truth every day. When you wake up in the morning, you wake up with that purpose. Like, who are you? How do you want to be received by the world, right? And that's something that I do every single day. And it's helped me throughout my life, man. I'm grateful. I'm elated to have you on the show, man. Like, this has been great, man. I'm definitely appreciative for you taking, you know, time out of your day, man. But thank you, bro.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. And I think the world of you, and I think the world is seeing, you know, your greatness, your longevity, and ultimately your mindset, and you're built different, which is great. I think it's going to be an incredible story for all these other people, all these young guys just coming up and seeing this and knowing, hey, I could do that too if I put my mind to it. And hopefully more and more guys are going to be coming up to you and asking you, how do you do it? Maybe that's the book on how you did it in the future.
Absolutely.
I think everyone needs to know. Now, one thing I want to finish with, and I got to say before we close, because I know this is important. We're talking about positivity. I know there's guys thinking right now, yeah, but what about being competitive? Man, I can't be positive. I want to win. And here's what I know. You can have a really powerful competitive spirit and be very positive. I think they go hand in hand. You don't have to choose one or the other, because the most successful people I know are often positive, and they have a deep competitive spirit. They have a deep drive, and they have a fierceness to them. So they're positive, but they're fierce, and they want to win. They're just not a jerk while they're trying to win. It's a little different. Anger will only get you so far. And anger is actually weak energy. It runs out. It's a temporary boost.
Yeah.
Anger is steroids of the soul. It actually gives you a temporary boost of energy, but it does not sustain. And eventually, if you keep filling up with anger over time, it actually destroys your body, destroys your health, and destroys your mind. So when you're loving the battle like a warrior and you're loving the competition and you're positive about the outcome, that's a much different mindset. I call it healthy ambition. So I just want people to know that when I play sports, man, I'm very positive, but I'm competitive as you know what. And sometimes I'll curse even when I'm playing sports. And my friends start laughing. I go, "What's so funny?" It's like they go, "It's so funny seeing the positive guy get all pissed off." And I go, "No, I'm not getting negative though. I'm getting fierce and I get better." So I just want people to understand you can be positive and still be fierce and have a deep competitive spirit to want to win.
I love this. Shout praise, whisper criticism. I just wrote it down on a card. That is going to be my new mantra right there.
I love that, man. I love that.
Marcedes, thanks so much, man. Keep up the great work. I'm rooting for you guys this season, and I just know, I feel like it's going to be a really strong year. If it's not, I'm going to be really, really surprised. I'll be more shocked and surprised than I've ever been if it's not a great year, because I think it is, and I know this team is lucky to have you, and I'm lucky to have you as a friend.
No, I appreciate that, John. Thank you for taking time out your day, man.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you, John. I look forward to seeing you. How about that? That was awesome. That everybody should just put this on and go, all right, I need to get a positive boost in my life. That dude's phenomenal.
Oh, he's the best, and that's who he is. That's not an act. That's not for the cameras. That's private conversations that we've had. He's special, man. Like I mean, he's just one of those people that you don't meet every day, and being able to have him in my life for 17 years, for as long as I've had him, he's rubbed off on me in a positive way and kind of taught me how to be a person that, when people meet me, they feel the same way leaving that conversation with me as well. So I'm grateful that we were able to get him on the show.
Hey, man, have a great game against Indianapolis Colts. By the way, this is the Big Dog Show with Marcedes Lewis. I'm David Kaplan. It's brought to you by your Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers and Ank Law 3126 million. Have a great game down in Indy, and let's get to 2-1.
Let's get it, man. I appreciate you. We'll tap in soon.
I look forward to it. You're the man.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah. Look, back and I'm better than ever.